Hi guys, it's Honey, and welcome to the first episode of me and Morgan's new podcast. Say hi, Morg.
Hey!
What is up? And today we are going to be talking about a very interesting topic, and that is unsolved cases. So first, Morgan is going to tell us about the Black Dahlia.
So, on the morning of January 15, 1947, Elizabeth Short's naked body was found severed in two pieces on a vacant lot on the west side of South Norton Avenue, midway between Coliseum Street and West 39th Street in Leimert Park, Los Angeles. At the time, the neighborhood was largely undeveloped, and local resident Betty Bersinger discovered the body at approximately 10 a.m. while she was walking with her 3-year-old daughter. She initially thought that she had found a discarded store mannequin, and so when she realized it was a corpse, she ran to a nearby house and telephoned the police. Her severely mutilated body was completely severed at the waist and drained entirely of blood, leaving its skin a pallid white. Medical examiners determined that she had been dead for around 10 hours prior to the discovery, leaving her time of death either sometime during the evening of January 14th or the early morning hours of January 15th. The body had obviously been washed by the killer, and her face had been slashed from the corners of her mouth to her ears, creating an effect known as the Glasgow smile. She had cuts on her thigh and breasts where her entire portions of flesh had been sliced away. The lower half of her body was positioned a foot away from the upper, and her intestines had been tucked neatly beneath her. Her corpse had been posed, with her hands over her head, her elbows bent at right angles, and her legs spread apart. Obviously, this is a very famous murder, and this is one of the few murders where you can actually find pictures of the scene, which we're obviously not going to show, but if you're interested enough, you can look them up. They're kind of everywhere. So, an autopsy of her body was performed on January 16th by Dr. Frederick Newbar, the Los Angeles County coroner.
Crazy.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Okay, on January 21st, 1947, a person claiming to be her killer placed a phone call to the office of James Richardson, the editor of the Examiner, congratulating Richardson on the newspaper's coverage of the case, and stated he planned on eventually turning himself in, but not before allowing police to pursue him further. Additionally, the caller told Richardson to expect some souvenirs of Beth Short in the mail. On January 24th, a suspicious manila envelope was discovered by a U.S. Postal Service worker. The envelope had been addressed to the Los Angeles Examiner and other Los Angeles papers with individual words that had been cut and pasted from newspaper clippings. Additionally, a large message on the face of the envelope read, "Here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow." The envelope contained Short's birth certificate, business cards, photographs, names written on pieces of paper, an address book with the name of Mark Hansen embossed on the cover. The packet had been carefully cleaned with gasoline, similarly to Short's body, which led police to suspect that the packet had been sent directly by her killer. Despite the efforts to clean the packet, several partial fingerprints were lifted from the envelope and sent to the FBI for testing. However, the prints were compromised in transit and thus could not be properly analyzed. And obviously this is still a unsolved crime, and there is very little evidence as to who could have done it. And so that's what makes this one of the creepiest unsolved murders to this day.
That is very interesting. That's creepy.
Creepy? And the fact that you can find, like, images, like, I'm looking at the image right now. I don't want to show it on there, but, like, it's not just, like, oh, this girl was murdered. Like, someone put some thought into this.
Yeah.
But also it's, like, why her? You know, why'd they choose her?
Maybe because she was, like, an up-and-coming starlet. You know, like,
yeah, because they said that that's what she was, like, you know.
Maybe they were, like, maybe, like, she might be an easy target, and, like, I could have some fun with this.
Yeah. Well, in a lot of these articles, if you just Google Black Dahlia, it says killer and aspiring starlet cut in half. You know, and, like, confessing to the Black Dahlia murders, how the Black Dahlia's, like, murders was planned. And, like, oh my gosh, this is just insane.
Right.
That it's still not solved. And, like, oh my gosh, even, okay, like, the whole cutting up her body part is really creepy, but, like, the picture of her face where they, like, cut her mouth.
Mm-hmm. And it was kind of it's the Joker smile.
Yeah, but, like, way creepier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now we're going to be talking about the original Night Stalker. So this serial killer was based in Northern California, and he was active in the mid-70s, 80s, and he killed 12 people and raped 50.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And so this killer is also known as the East Area Rapist or the Golden State Killer. And he went on a raping and murder spree in the 70s and the 80s. Many suspects have been identified, but all of them were cleared.
Holy crap.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Insane.
He killed 12 people and raped 50 women.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He, like, still got away with that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Crazy. They get away with a lot.
Wait, and when was this? What year?
This was from the mid-1970s all the way to 1986.
Whoa. So they didn't even have all that technology back then either that they can do now to, like, find suspects way faster. Holy crap. And the next murder case we're going to be talking about is the Lovers Lane murders that took place in an undeveloped wooded area of West Houston on the night of August 23rd, 1990. So this is fairly recent. Sorry. That night, 22-year-old Cheryl Henry and her 21-year-old boyfriend Andy Atkinson parked in a deserted spot to do what lovers do, which is why it's called the Lovers Lane murder. This was a known spot for young couples in the area. So the couple's car was found at the scene with their bodies in the woods close by. Cheryl had been raped and then killed by having her throat slashed. She was found half buried under a pile of wood. And Andy was killed second, having to watch the brutal murder of his girlfriend, and then was found tied to a tree, nearly decapitated. Wow. And the case is still such a big deal in the Houston area, so much that a Facebook page dedicated to solving it exists. And there haven't been any large suspects, and it's still unsolved to this day.
That's crazy.
That's why that's always what happens in the movies, which is freaky. Because that's always what happens in the movies, is where, like, oh, the little couple's going to go off and have some fun, and then, oh, what was that noise?
Right.
And then that's, like, that just freaks me out, like, that people still do that, even though it's, like, it's what happens in the movie.
Well, it's
like,
just so cliche.
It's so cliche, but it's, like, cliche enough where I would not do that, because I'd be creeped out. Like, you, like that one.
Like, if a guy...
About the hook guy? The hook hand guy?
Mm-hmm.
You heard that? Like, why would you go out there? That would just, like, scare me.
Honestly,
so much.
like, what the heck?
There. Like,
wait, we should do an episode where we talk about urban legends.
Ooh, okay, guys. Thumbs up this video and comment down below if you think we should do an urban legend one. Yes. Because there are so many.
There's a lot.
We can do them all from, like, different cultures, too. Like, how they have, like, chupacabra. And, like, you know, different cultural ones, too. That'd be cool.
I don't know. I think, like, when the couple goes off and stuff, it's, like, such a cliche thing. Maybe some serial killers have this, like, fantasy of that in their heads.
They saw it in the movies and they're like, oh my gosh, that's, like, the...
Right.
The sound, not to sound weird, but, like, that's, like, the dream for serial killers. Like, ew. That happens in so many, like, movies and TV shows. It's always, like, the Lover's Lane type thing, like an American Horror Story freak show.
Yeah.
The scene with the picnic, you know, the couple goes off in the middle of nowhere.
Then they get killed.
I'm not saying, like, a killer clown with his mouth shot off and then they show up, but y'all watch out, don't do that.
Okay, the next story we have is the West Mesa serial killer. This serial killer was based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Years active were 4 years, going from 2001 to 2005. The number of victims is 11. This murderer targeted prostitutes and drug traffickers. Almost all of these victims were Hispanic women. The only exception was one African American woman who was pregnant at the time, 4 months pregnant. This killer got the nickname of the Bone Collector for the initial discovery of human bones sticking out of his, basically like his hunting ground where he hunted, which sounds like horrible to say.
Can you imagine?
But that's like that was like his
out hunting, like, oh, I'm gonna go hunting today, and then you see the bones, and you're like, that's not an animal bone.
Right.
Ew.
Yeah, but it was located in the website says in like the killer's hunting ground. Like he had his own like area where he would go out and
he would hunt the people
he would
there,
hunt
and then
people.
Just, like,
and he got the name.
Like a hunting ground, like
right.
Like he's sitting there, like he's hunting
waiting.
A deer. You know how you like hide and wait for hours, like hide and wait for hours for a human, like
that's horrible. Alright guys, it's the time of the video where we reflect and review on each case we talked about, and we rate it on a scale of which one freaked us out the most and which one really like the least. So I'll go first, and I would say the one that freaked me out the most is probably, I don't know, that's hard. They're all really like freaky to me, but I think the most would probably be the Night Stalker. You can't, like, there's no way to be like safe at night, and that scares me because you can only see so far.
Yeah, or like you don't know. That's like, I read this thing the other day where it was like people aren't scared of the dark. They're scared, like people aren't scared of being alone in the dark. They're scared that they're not alone.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's out there, because you can't see.
Right. And I used to be so afraid. I used to be so afraid of the dark.
Scary?
That's my top scary.
Okay. I think my top scary is, I don't know. It's really, I mean, I feel like the Night Stalker, because that would be the only one that would, like, be in my realm, you know, like, because obviously, like, other ones were targeting, like, drug traffickers or prostitutes, or, like, that, like, the Hollywood starlet, which was the Black Dahlia. So I feel like, yeah, I agree with you, like, the Night Stalker, I think, is the creepiest.
Yeah.
Because, like, you didn't know. Okay, what do you think the least scary one to you would be?
I think for me, the least scariest was, I would say, the Lover's Lane one, because I think everybody's seen enough of like the scary movies and stuff to, well, I mean, I have personally, to like know, like, I'm not going out there.
Well, it's like a common cliche, so
right.
I feel like everyone should know it at least. I don't know. I think the least scary one to me is the, what was it? The Mesa. What was it called?
The West Mesa?
Yeah, the West Mesa one, because I think, first of all, that one was like, you know, it wasn't super recent. So it's like, okay. And also because it was like drug traffickers, prostitutes, it was all like bad part of town type thing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's just, but also like the Lover's Lane, it's like, okay, obviously, like, I'm not going to go do that. So that doesn't really freak me out. So.
Right.
I don't know. I think that'd be one then. That's the tea.
That's the tea. That's the review portion. Yes. So, that's the honey. That's the honey.
The honey's been spilled, y'all.
Oh.
We had to have one little funny comment in here when we're giving you guys all this weird crap.
Yeah, one little laugh. But,
like, props to you for listening to this stuff. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah, if you stuck
You're
through...
the weird people. We vibe with you.
We vibe. If you stuck through the whole podcast. Thank you so much. If you could do us a favor and hit that like button and comment what else you would like us to talk about, that would be amazing. And hit that subscribe button on both mine and Morgan's channel. Yes, her channel will be in the description and at the end of this video. But yes, that was our first podcast. How do you feel, Morg?
I feel sister spooked.
Yes.
But also, I feel like it's good to learn about this stuff, because also, if you didn't know about it, what if you were just the person that's, I don't know, I feel like when people don't acknowledge that things are happening, it happens to them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If they're like, oh, this could never happen to me, but if you're like, yes, I know this could happen to me, I want to prepare myself, or I want to at least be
careful,
like, woke about
and
it.
aware. Like,
knowledge, yeah, aware, that's the word I was going for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to be aware about it, because then at least you know what to look for, you know?
Right.
Or what not to do. Like, don't walk alone at night, you know?
Yeah.
Like, all that kind of stuff. Oh, and also, we got to talk about how we're going to, like, do each episode on each of our channels.
Oh, yeah. So, we're doing each of these episodes on both of our channels. This episode will be on mine. So, it'll alternate. Like, this week, it will be on mine. Next week, it will be on Morgan's. And, you know, we will keep you notified on our social media. If you have us, links will be in the description below. And, or you can turn on our post notifications and see it that way. But that will be it for this podcast. Quick announcement before the video is over. We will be adding our other best friend, Allie, to the podcast. She will be in next episode, so stay tuned.